Well, hello. Time to check in again. I think I left off with yesterday in the afternoon. Ifa and I were getting ready to go on the floating village tour, and we did. And it was good and bad. The value for the money was not comparable to the Angkor Wat tour, since Angkor Wat was such an all-day thing with so much to see. The floating village tour is definitely more of a ploy to get you to spend money there, because the folks that live there are so extremely poor. They make their living like half on fishing and crocodile farming and half on tourist dollars. So they've got all the gimmicks. Still, I'm really glad that we saw it. It was beautiful. I already posted a few videos. I'm sure you guys have seen them. So you take a van out to the middle of nowhere through the countryside for like an hour, and then you board this 6-person motorboat, covered motorboat thing, and there are hundreds of other motorboats also doing the exact same thing you're doing, with, packed full of Japanese tourists and American tourists, and you go up and down the aisles of the floating villages, the roads, I guess they'd be called, and just see how the people live. And it's actually really interesting. The houses are all very colorful, and they're up on stilts, and they decorate them so beautifully. And there are 2 pagodas in town. There's a Christian church, because 5% of the people that live in this village are Christian. There's 3,000 people total. And then there's 2 crocodile farms, there's a couple of restaurants, there's a couple of schools, there's some government buildings. So you get to go see all that. And the folks in the village are so used to tourists coming through and taking video and photos that they just go about their business and completely ignore you. At one point, actually, Ifa was sitting on the back of the boat. She got out of her chair and climbed out of the I don't know what you'd call it, the main compartment of the boat, and onto the back platform of the boat, so she could get better photos with her camera. And her scarf got caught in the fan, and then very shortly after that the boat broke down. And I'm not saying that one thing had to do with the other, but it was pretty coincidental. The driver of the boat said something about air got into the gas tank or something, I don't know, or water, I don't know. But it was adorable, because the driver of the boat just called across to this little boy on a porch on one of the floating houses, and they were speaking to each other, in Cambodian, in Khmer. And the little boy got on a little rowboat and rowed himself over to us with some tools and helped our driver fix the engine, and then rowed himself back. And of course, we're all taking photos galore the whole time, because it's so cute, this little kid just rowing himself across, here's the wrench, here you go, what do you need? And the kid just completely ignored us, didn't even care, was just going about his business. So that was funny. And then they bring you to the crocodile farm / restaurant, where they have a makeshift zoo. There was some creature that I could not identify, and no one could tell me what it was. I think it was some kind of civet. It was chained, it had a chain around its neck, and it was chained to a porch post, and the kids were feeding it bananas so that it would hold still for photos with the tourists. And then there was a baby ocelot or something in a cage, and they had some turtles that looked really miserable. They were in this tiny little tank, big giant turtles, tiny little tank, only 3 inches of water in there, and just lots of turtle poop. They had bunnies that were covered in mud in a little cage, and they let them out, and they were hopping all over the restaurant floor. And a few times I had to make sure that other people didn't step on them, because they didn't realize that there were bunnies hopping around. And then obviously the crocodiles are in this giant enclosure, so you can go and look at the crocodiles. And they farm them for, the skin. Obviously they make wallets and shoes, but also food, which, like I had said before, I ate some at the night market, and it was delicious. And I feel bad because the crocodiles don't have a very good standard of living right now, but they're so delicious. So I got photos of all that stuff. And then once you're done gawking at the neglected, confined animals, they tell you that if you want to, you can get on a smaller boat with one of the villagers, and she will paddle you through the floating forest, which is this giant portion of the intercoastal waterway where it's just like these big gnarled trees growing out of the water, and it's really beautiful and peaceful. And it's $5 a person and 2 people per boat. And if you want to, you can get on the boat and go around for an hour with the villager, and she will show you the floating forest. But everybody's doing it. Like every single person that came on the motorboat is getting onto the kayak thingies. So it's like, you have to do it, right? So you end up paying another $5. You get on the boat, and immediately the villager takes her little boat over to the floating markets, which is just like a bunch of snacks and beers and waters being sold by villagers off of their individual boats. And the villagers are very pushy about trying to get you to buy snacks and stuff. And they're like, oh, you want to buy snacks for your driver too? Like, she needs some Pringles. And then they charge you an exorbitant amount of money, and it's really hard to haggle with them. So like for a beer, a water, and like some chips or something, she wanted $10, and you know, we haggled her down to like $5 or something. And it was still ridiculous. But you know, again, they're super poor, and it was nice to know that at least like that money's going to the villagers and not to the tour boat company. So, you know, there are worse things to spend money on. And then we went through the floating forest, and it was gorgeous and peaceful and lovely. So you do that for about an hour, and then they bring you back to your speedboat thing, your tour boat. And the tour boat brings you out to Tonle Sap, which is Cambodia's largest lake. It's a huge lake, and it's known for dropping its levels during the dry season. Like, it gets so much more shallow during the dry season than during the wet season. But somehow some really rare and endangered species of fish survive in there. So it's known for like having the largest population of certain species of fish that, you know, are otherwise like endangered or even wiped out in other places. We didn't see a whole lot on the lake, but it was large and it was beautiful, and we stayed out there for just a little while longer so that when we were coming back through the village, the sun was setting behind the houses. It was really well timed, and it was just perfect photo opportunities. It was gorgeous, really pretty. So yeah, I'm glad we did it. We met some interesting people on the tour boat. You know, one guy from Malaysia, another couple from the UK, and they were all just really interesting people. We had good conversations. It was good to see. And then last night, Ifa and I said goodbye to each other. I went to bed as early as possible because I had to get up at 7 a.m. to catch the bus to Bangkok. So we said farewell. We had been like attached at the hip for 3 days straight. We saw a lot of things, and we shared a lot of things, and we just became such good friends. And I just love her so. She's just an amazing, wonderful person. She's so beautiful, and I love her voice. I love the way she uses language. She's self-conscious about her use of the English language, but I love it. I think it makes you sort of think about why the language is the way it is. Her sort of creativity and unabashed, you know, sort of searching for words. I mean, in 3 days, I think she maybe only asked me half a dozen times what a word was for something. You know, she said, "What is this bird that you tell children brings the babies?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, that's a stork." You know, like, it's good. She's like a dictionary. You know, she just makes you think. And the fact that her voice and her accent are so lovely and sultry and sexy and exotic, like, I'm so glad to have been able to go around with her and see the things that I did and share the things that I shared and learn so much about her and where she's from and her life. They say that the friends you make when you're traveling are such an important part of it. And I think I knew that, but I didn't really understand or absorb it until I met her. And I just feel like this emptiness now that we're not together anymore. But I'm already planning my next trip. I'm going to go to Himalaya to see her in India, and she can show me around. That'll be cool. So I got on the bus to Bangkok this morning. I managed to snooze a little bit on the bus. It was a pretty unremarkable trip. They got us through customs really quickly. I took Giant Ibis again. It's the same bus company that I took from Ho Chi Minh City to Phnom Penh, and then from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap. So I'm just going to keep going with them. They're the most expensive, but they're also the most comfortable, and they take care of everything for you at the border crossings. So it's pretty hassle-free, which is nice. And they provided us with a lunch today, which was a surprise. I didn't know they were going to do that. So that was good. The bus, we had to catch the bus at like 7:30, and then it actually left the station at 8:30 because there was some forms and stuff that they wanted to make sure we filled out before we left. Border crossing took probably an hour and a half, maybe, all told. And then with traffic and everything, we got into Bangkok at 6. They dropped us off right at like Khao San Road, which is the big backpacker road where all the, like, it's just basically like spring break. Like, it's a bunch of 20-something like hippies and hipsters and scantily clad girls, and these tourist girls wear these tiny little short shorts and these crop tops. And after being in Vietnam and Cambodia for the last week, where it's a very heavy Buddhist population, and you're just expected to sort of be respectful of that and show as little skin as possible, even though it's super hot out. I sort of already adapted to that and was like, every time I would see a girl with her knees or her shoulders exposed, I'd be like, disrespectful. So then they dropped us at this Khao San Road, and everyone's partying and getting drunk, and it's like a club atmosphere, and it's just like a bunch of garbage people walking around doing garbage things. I was just like, ugh, these people don't understand. So yeah, already I don't like Bangkok very much, but I have all day tomorrow to try to make up for it and see some things that are actually worth seeing. There are a couple temples and landmarks, sites that, like Frommer's and TripAdvisor and TravelFish.org all say you have to see. So I'm going to try to fit those in tomorrow. And then I already booked my train to Chiang Mai. So I have an overnight train that leaves at 6 p.m. tomorrow. It's like a 13-hour ride to Chiang Mai, but it's cool because you have like bunk beds and you sleep, and it's supposed to be really comfy, really luxurious, and a really great way to get from one place to another. Again, it's a little bit more expensive than taking a bus, but because it's overnight, I don't have to pay for a hostel, so I think it all comes out in the wash. So tomorrow, Bangkok, just very briefly, and then I'll be on a train to Chiang Mai, and that is the place that I really want to go. Bangkok's kind of just a stopover. Chiang Mai should be the cool spot. I've got a big list of things I want to see while I'm there. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing okay. I have a little empty place where Aoife used to be, but I'm pretty proud of myself for getting right off the bus today in Bangkok and figuring some shit out. Like, got to an ATM, got a SIM card, sat down, had some food, had a beer, got my shit in order. Because the whole time on the bus from Siem Reap to Bangkok, it was, I forget how long, it was a very long day on the bus. The whole time I could not get the Wi-Fi to work on my phone. So all the things I was going to do on the bus, I didn't get a chance to do. I couldn't book a hostel, I couldn't look at places I wanted to go, I couldn't figure out where I wanted to eat, like nothing. I just read my book the entire way and snoozed and ate the candies that Aoife left me with. So yeah, by the time I got here, I got off the bus and I was just like, I don't know where I am or where to go. And I just sort of followed the crowds and figured it out. So pretty proud of myself on that one, because I honestly wanted to just sit down and cry like I had the last time I got off a bus, but there was no Aoife here this time to help me. So I had to do it myself, and I did all right. So I'm at my hostel now in Chinatown and near the Victory Monument, which is one of the things that I'm going to have to go see tomorrow, I guess. And I am going to turn in pretty early because I am exhausted. I didn't sleep at all last night, and I barely slept on the bus today. But I will check in with you guys again tomorrow. I love you. I miss you all. Bye.